Okay, today, guys, we're going to be making baked sweet potatoes. And this is my oil from Azure Standard. This is olive oil. I just put it in this cute little oil carrier here where I can pour. And I rub the potatoes. Plus, you don't care that the oil gets on this. It doesn't matter. It's going to help keep them from sticking to everything. Rub them real good. And make sure you rub the ends and all the cracks and crevices on the potatoes. And I took the ends off. And we're going to put the bigger ones on the outside, the smaller one inside, and I'm going to do that one there. Okay, so we have the potatoes lined out in the pan. We're going to take more foil, and I'm just going to put it around them. And I'm going to turn the sides up. And I'm going to poke a hole or two so it'll breathe. In there. And the reason behind this is I do not like to have to clean the tar off of a pan. It gets stuck on there. It's really hard to get off. So I do the tin foil and I let these bake in the oven. I'm going to put them in there at 300 for at least an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or more. They're going to slow cook. I'll check them. If they're not done, they'll go another hour. I'll keep checking. To me, it's about the different size potatoes and different things, how long it takes to get them done. I could crank the oven up to 400 and then turn it back down for, to 300 later. But I would rather just let them slow cook. We're going to be cooking greens, a mixture of kale, turnips, and mustard. I'm going to cook those. And some Danny cornbread. That's going to be our meal today. I've got this huge pan full of greens, and I put salt and water in there, and I put a saucepan with water in it to hold the greens under the water in case there's any bugs or anything like that on them. That way they do a salt soak and it will not make your greens salty. You rinse them afterward and then chop them up and cook them. I have my greens washed. I washed them about 4 times. Then I cut them at least a couple of times. I took and just sliced them with a knife so they wouldn't be whole leaves. I've added salt and bacon grease in here. Now my secret ingredient, I have turnip roots from May that Chris brought us. And I went ahead and chopped them up. I processed them. They're basically ready to eat. And I put ready to eat on there. I just have to put them in some water and get them hot and stuff. But they're frozen. I'm going to add them to this pot. And as this is cooking, we have turnip roots. And that made the last pot of greens so good because there were turnip roots in there. I don't have to wait for the roots to form. I already have my secret ingredient here. Plus, if you wanted to add a spoonful of sugar to it, you can. The turnip roots is going to make it pretty sweet though. And the spoonful of sugar will take any bitterness away from any of the greens. We're going to be making our Mexican cornbread. Here, I put some of the Danny corn that has been ground into cornmeal, and I also added some corn flour. So this is a 2-cup thing. I needed 2 cups of meal and flour, so I did 1.5 of cornmeal and half of corn flour. That is substituting for the cup of corn flour and cornmeal that it called for. So you needed 2 cups altogether. I did 1.5 of cornmeal and half of corn flour. To that I added a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon and a half of salt, teaspoon and a half of baking powder, and we're just going to mix that in and kind of flip it so that that incorporates. And you could be using mixers and stuff like that, but I'm old-fashioned. I like a spoon. Okay, so to start with, we're going to be adding olive oil. Now this is from Azure Standard. It's called Azure Market. It is organic olive oil, extra virgin, cold pressed, and we need half a cup. And I'm not going to run out, guys. Even though I'm getting low, I pick up in 24 hours, I pick up my new Azure haul. Alright, so we did half a cup of oil. We need 1 cup of buttermilk. And you can make buttermilk by taking your milk and adding a tablespoon of lemon juice to it, and it makes buttermilk if you don't have it. We're going to add our 2 eggs right quick. And I'm only adding 2 eggs. It calls for 1 egg, but my eggs are small right now. We have young chickens, so we're doing 2 small eggs. And we're just going to mix that all together. Now the cornmeal was mine and Danny's. The oil came from Azure. The salt, of course, from a store, salt and baking powder. Now we're going to start adding in ingredients that basically Danny and I grow here on our farm. First thing is I cut up 1 onion, and then I piled on the edge some jalapenos. These are the onions from Azure, the jalapenos we grow here, and they're the full Jew or something like that jalapeno, where you do not have the hot. You have the flavor without the hot. Then we're going to add in, this is a mixture of our sweet onion. It is a purple bell, green bell, and banana peppers. This is a combination of our peppers that we grew. To that, we're adding 1 cup of Danny corn. Now this is in the milk stage. Usually you would add a cup of sweet corn. We don't have sweet corn, so we have Danny corn. Hence, I put a tablespoon of sugar in this mixture. Now, I'm mixing all this together. And you can add your cheese in now, or you can wait. Either way. I think I'm going to add part of my cheese. Now this is the white cheddar from Azure. So I'm going to add about half of it right now. And mix this all up. And to me, this is a little bit on the dry side. It's a little drier than I would like, so I'm going to add a touch more milk to it just to give it that little bit wetter look that I like. Okay, we added just a little bit more moisture. Because with Danny corn, I'm not sure, you know, making our cornmeal and grits from scratch, I wouldn't want it to be too dry. Alright, that's looking a little bit more the consistency I want. I have a skillet in the oven with some bacon grease in it. We're getting it hot. You want a hot skillet. You want this to go into the oven at 400 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. We have our pot of greens that is done. We're just going to be heating them up shortly. We did put the turnip roots in there, let it cook, and y'all, it tastes amazing. I didn't have to taste test. And the sweet potatoes were really good because Danny and I done had one as soon as they came out of the oven. So we will have another one for supper tonight. We have one at lunchtime. They were actually done at lunch. And you can see the ooey goodness by putting them in the tin foil. And the mess stays in the tin foil, y'all. Hear that? That's what you want. You want that little bit of sizzle there. You hear it sizzling. And I did do a big skillet, a tall skillet, because I know if this goes to rising, I don't want it all over my oven. So we're going to smooth this out and throw some leftover cheese that I got over here. We're going to do the cheese just crumbled on it. Isn't that looking amazing? And that cheese will just melt and brown in on top of it. Okay, let's just do that. Get all that goodness in there. It is going in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes at 400 degrees. Alright, the cornbread is done. You can see the corn and the onions and the peppers and stuff in there and the cheese on top. We're going to try it in a few minutes. The Mexican cornbread came out really fantastic. I did not record us tasting it and all, but it was delicious. Danny and I enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy the recipe, and I'll be making some more probably in the next day or two, because that lasted exactly about 48 hours. We ate cornbread at 2 meals a day. Thank you guys.